Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to 50 States of Gay. Today I am in Waterbury, Connecticut, joined with a special guest to share his story and his perspective on growing up here in the Northeast. So, my special guest today is
Shine up, Bush.
and today we're just gonna share a few special facts about him and talk about his story. One of the first things that struck me is you mentioned growing up in foster care. So, what was that like, and how did that kind of shape who you are?
Growing up in foster care, I still feel like I should look at you just because you're here.
Sure.
Growing up in foster care, you kind of get stripped of your identity. Your voice isn't really heard. Now, so it's kind of different. They've changed some laws and policies. Back in 2000, you were just moved wherever they want you to move because it was a bed, it was free. So you kind of lose a little bit of yourself, a little bit of your soul. And that I kind of took that and said, well, I'm not going to let anybody kind of write my narrative for me. And there's like this really awesome quote by Chimamanda Adichie. She was on Flawless with Beyonce, so we have people know who she is. And she says the single greatest danger to society is, or detriment to society, is the danger of a single story. And I didn't want anyone to use this one narrative that I was this damaged, abused kid and paint the rest of my life with it and let it follow me. So I decided to kind of co-opt that and take my life back and run with it. So.
That's fantastic. And what is it like for you? Because now you work with children who have been in foster care. Do you see a lot of their stories being impacted, especially in the LGBTQ community? Do you think it's harder or easier for them to come out?
I think it's a lot harder for LGBT kids in foster care to come out because that tends to be a deal breaker a lot with a lot of families. Because a lot of the good folks who are looking to do good in the community and do good for their fellow man are, some very strong, sometimes conservative Christians who don't want to invite something so kind of like abhorrent, I guess, into their homes. And so sometimes they have to conceal who they are, or sometimes if they are just explicit in their presentation, it's like, this is me, you gotta accept all of me or nothing. A lot of the times they get passed over because they seem like trouble, and they don't, it's just, there's no really like middle ground for them at all. So either go all the way or you get nothing.
Right. All right, so let's kind of focus on another volunteer work you do. He was telling me all his volunteer work, and honestly, I don't know how he stays awake right now to even be interviewed. But let's talk about Lines. So Lines is an organization you created, correct?
Yes.
All right, so explain what Lines does.
All right, so what Lines is a peer support group for LGBT, sexual, gender minority people of color, ages 18 to 30, to create a safe space where people, where LGBT people of color can come share their stories, their experiences, and like ways to cope, and how they deal with all the types of oppressions and the unique experiences that happen to us because of our intersecting identities. And it doesn't have to be that you're black and gay. You could be an Asian, asexual, woman or trans woman, anything. It's just like I just felt that people of color didn't really have spaces to outwardly express all the things they were doing because we find ourselves being policed a lot. Especially in like the very white-fronted like LGBT mainstream movement, we find ourselves being lost, or people not caring enough, or people co-opting us and using us as props. So like I wanted to give a space where we were important, where our voices were heard, and we weren't told that's not important right now, or that's not going to push our whole agenda forward. Because we talked about it earlier, like your other isn't always going to be my other, and that should be respected.
And you mentioned something earlier that was really interesting, where you said the first thing you actually had to reconcile when the marriage equality case came out was still the fact that your ethnicity was what people noticed first. So it wasn't really you were battling the LGBT-ness as much as you were battling the kind of racism.
Right. It was it's difficult to kind of like take on so many things. Because I'm a person who feels a lot about a lot, and I say a lot about it all the time. And so when I walk into a space, regarding my identity, like I know right away people are reacting to me being a large black dude, and if they don't know me and the way people are indoctrinated, I'm dangerous, and I look like I can do, I probably can do something, and so like right away people are either afraid of me. They don't see, like maybe I didn't spell right away, but they don't see that I'm this gay dude. They don't see that I might be a college graduate or anything. They just assume that I'm this one thing, and I'm dressed in a t-shirt and jeans, so I don't care about the way I look. There's so many things that come with it. So when marriage equality came around, it was like, I can still get gunned down in the streets, regardless of how many degrees I have, regardless of how well-spoken I am. Like, the way I look is going to play into the way people treat me, even as far as, like, resumes go. Like, before I got, like, my job, like, I had to change my name on my resume from Charnel to CW just to get a phone call. Like, legit, I put out, like, 100 resumes. and got no phone calls until I changed
Wow.
my name. So it's like, I know, like, being ethnic doesn't, like, marriage wasn't going to affect me directly. I could still live. I could still, you know, eat. I can go anywhere I want. I can be housed anywhere I want, you know? So it's like, it was just so hard for me to kind of, like, grasp all that and just strip off the blackness, strip off this maleness, and just say, okay, I'm this gay person now. Your problems are always going to be my problems, but they're going to be interceded or superseded by my blackness always. It's never going to happen.
Wow. Okay, so that actually changed a lot of my perspective too, and I thought I was pretty well open. So thank you for that. 2 other questions. They're going to kind of tie back and forth to each other. One, what advice would you give to someone who may grow up this very similar way to you, or be a person of color, challenging, facing coming out? What advice would you give to them?
I would say, kind of get in where you fit in and expand. Never look to be, I always tell people, don't be a Skittle in a bowl of M&Ms. And don't look for Skittles and bowls of M&Ms, because you're just not going to be it. And we're created to stand out. So when you find a place, find people who are going to love you. Find people who are going to accept you, who are going to affirm you and groom you and encourage you to be a great person. And once you get that foundation, and it's no longer you seeking likes or seeking some kind of validation from the rest of the world, once you get that support system around you, that family around you, then you get into that and you expand and you push out. And when the world pushes back, you keep pushing. And that's really what it is.
That's fantastic. All right, so last question, considering the fact that we, very obviously based on experiences, grew up very differently. What advice would you give to someone like me who didn't have to grow up with as much hardship as you did? What advice would you give to us to be supportive and also respectful?
Well, I was like, no, that was different. No, I would say that one, hardships are relevant. Like, I think that, it changes. Like my trauma and things are going to change the way I react to situations, just like yours. Like, things might be big to you that aren't big to me. But again, like, I would tell you, and I would tell myself, like, when it comes to your experiences, to listen, to shut up and let someone tell you, because you can't tell someone what they've experienced and how it made them feel. So really all it is like opening up, learning what allyship is really, honestly, and what it looks like is just being present, not taking over anyone else's fight, not co-opting experiences, not talking for them, but listening and asking, where do I fit into this? Asking yourself, where do I fit into your life story? Where can I help you be better? And how can I help someone like you be better? And that's really all it takes.
So not interjecting all lives matter when someone says Black Lives Matter.
Exactly. Because rational people know that.
Yes.
But that's not the conversation right now.
Right. Thank you to Charnel for joining me here in Connecticut today, and thank you for being a part of 50 States of Gay, and thank you to all of you for watching. Make sure you click subscribe to my videos below, and make sure you follow Charnel on all of his social media links below, and also make sure that you follow all of the different nonprofits that he works with in the description below as well. Thank you so much for following along, and make sure you make the world a better place with everything you do.